From the world of AV programming and control with James King, I'm Steve Greenblatt, and this is Ask the Programmer. James, how are you today? Looking forward to our conversation and the returning guest that we have.
Oh, I'm definitely looking forward to this one, Steve. Another one I could probably sit back and listen. Maybe I'll get more than 7 words in this time, but again, expert here. Love the knowledge he's bringing. How are you doing, Steve?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. So you're saying we need some time off. That's why we brought our guest in today.
Yeah, I like that. He
Well,
can do the heavy lifting.
if you haven't caught our last episode, episode 228, we had the pleasure of speaking with Jeff Perkins, and he is the Q-SYS control curriculum developer and trainer and had so many great things to share with us. So definitely listen to that episode at least twice. Welcome back, Jeff. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me. And so many words. I do. I use lots of words. It's a little bit of a problem. You wind me up and you point me in a direction and I just go. And James is like, I only got like X number of minutes left. But that's okay.
It's
Uh,
great.
I'm teasing. I'm
I
te
No,
know.
we're all good. And you know what? A podcast isn't a podcast if you don't talk. So we very much value guests like you. So thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you for having me again.
So if you didn't catch the last episode, as I said, please do. And one of the things that Jeff talked about that I thought was really important is his love letter to programmers, as well as the fact that part of his background is in education. And also, which I think is really the key component to all of this, is he was in an engineering role where he designed systems, but he insisted on programming the systems he designed because he did not want to have there that gap that could exist between the design and the implementation, nor did he want to design a system and say it's somebody else's problem to make it work. I think that theme really exists in his approach to training and a lot of what he discussed in our last episode, in that he would like, and this is the belief of Q-SYS, I'm sure as a whole, is a person taking his training to be able to walk away with something that they could apply and that is practical. And I think what was really unique, if I'm summing it all up, is the fact that he thought about the target audiences. And I think that's so important. And the training that he provides that has different flavors that are targeted toward those audience. So Jeff, I'll let you step in from here and you could take it away as far as next steps.
Yeah, for sure. So, one of the things that you just mentioned is Indeed, right? So I told the story of how we came up with the three classes that we have. Uh, they're introductory classes. And instead of there being one class that we shoehorned three different kinds of students into, we created three whole classes so that if you are just starting, there's a nice, safe place on the beach for you to build sandcastles. And when you're ready to figure out, oh man, I'm really great at this, but there's some problems I'm wanting to solve that are just they don't scale well, and I really just need a little bit of extra juice. That's when you can move into the second class, right? And then when you find where you get problems that just don't scale well, and that version of control programming, there's the advanced class where now like you have the full power of the platform available to you to solve any problem, big or small. So, right, there's a nice natural track for people to develop along. I know that Steve has control concepts, and I know that control concepts makes plugins, and they happen to be in Q-SYS. But one of the things that we also are thinking about at Q-SYS from control programming education is not only do we want to serve our AV programmers that are just starting and are on like the one end of the spectrum. But again, because I'm a weirdo and I have this education background, I've thought about the scope and sequence of where do some of those students, where do they want to wind up? where do they want to wind up? Some of them are going to be totally satisfied working at an integrator doing projects. Some of them, though, want to continue the journey and get all the way down the line to where they're really kind of becoming developers, proper developers of AV plugins, namely being Q-SYS plugin developers. So, Steve, instead of me creating, creating little competitors for you, this is really sort of, again, on my backside, what I'm thinking of is, again, I'm coming from being an integrator. I'm coming from the idea of I'm wanting to develop everyone on my team, to make them more skilled, more valuable, more powerful, more likely to have all of us in bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, right? So the more I can train and educate, the better everyone's going to be for it. I'm thinking of all of our integrators as well, of how do I take my tech and move them one notch higher in skill, move them one notch higher in school, move them one notch higher in skill. But also, Steve, I'm trying to get people that you might want to interview one day, to be able to come and write plugins with you at Control Concepts or any of our other partners that we have here in Q-SYS land. So in terms of a scope and sequence, right? Very intentional about setting a good foundation at the front end, but also looking all the way down the tunnel of time of some of those students are going to wind up wanting to write plugins, which is it's a higher form of programming that's similar to what you do at this end of the spectrum in Q-SYS programming, but there's some things about it that are different. And at Q-SYS, we let anyone write plugins. Anybody can write their own plugin, but if you're gonna get into right, if you're gonna get into be officially supported, then like there's a whole program, right? How do you do all of that? So we're thinking of how to get from beginning to end, and we're planning out a consistent narrative and training track that gets you from here to there. And so I can share and will share that one of the next classes, formal classes that is currently in production, not just planned, but in production, is do you want to build a plugin? And if you heard, do you want to build a plugin? That is exactly what it was going through my mind because, again, I have children, specifically a daughter. So yes, do you want to build a plugin is officially in production, coming as soon as we can make it. It takes time to make these things. And then we have thoughts of classes that would fall in between that would spend more time talking about user interfaces and curating user experience. A class that would spend more time on thinking about communications and how to move from doing serial ports to doing, GET requests with right, HTTP GETs with authentication, right? That whole gamut of how to do things. So, again, everything we're doing here at Q-SYS is if I'm involved with it, it's a love letter. It's a love letter to all of my AV programmers because for 25 years it's been let's go get that CS major, and for 25 years it's still that guy that we find that pulls wire real good, that we invest in and we bring along. That's still the main story. And look, we're definitely trying to get things that make sense to the CS majors, but I also know where we get our talent as well, right? We want to raise everybody's futures.
I I I mean couldn't thank you more for what you're doing, and I think that what this does is it helps to raise the bar and give an entry point for a lot of people in the industry. And I always feel no matter what your role is, it's important to understand what goes into programming. You may not be a programmer, you may not need to write code, you may not ever do it, but it's important to understand it. And that's one of the reasons why we have this podcast too. Um, I'm going to ask James from your perspective, and most recently, on probably a couple episodes ago, we were talking about how do you get into the industry? How do do you need to know AV first, or do you need to know programming first? Um, from what Jeff's explaining, what's your impressions of this, and how do you see this as being a tool for you or others that are looking to um, help to educate your staff?
Big takeaway I'm taking from this is Jeff has developed a plan that gives AV programmers the fundamentals and allows them to build their toolbox, their tool belt. And I know a lot of people don't like doing the fundamental. Like Jeff said, everyone wants to build a plugin, but they don't want to do Hello World. They want to jump right to build a plugin. But the problem is when you don't know the fundamentals, you run into major problems. And I kind of chop it up to building a house. You have to do your basement first before you put the roof on. And if your basement is not level and sound, then your roof is going to be way off. And I've seen this in construction. I remember was on a site and my team hung up a display and I'm looking at the display in the room going, the display is crooked. I'm like, I can't believe my team hung a crooked display. And I bring that to their attention. They're like, no, display is not crooked. We leveled it. I'm like, no, it's crooked. And we sat there in the back of the room and they're like, yeah, it looks crooked. So we threw a level on it. The display was level. So we're like, okay, what's going on? Found out that the left side was higher than the right side on the floor. So the wall was off. This is 3 stories up. So it started all the way down the basement that they were pre off, that it made the display look crooked. And I was like, sadly, we have to put our display off level to make it look level. Otherwise, people are going to complain. So build that foundation, build the strong one. I think Jeff, it sounds like he has a good program there to build that foundation.
And they're crazy enough to let me do it. Don't tell them. Don't tell anyone. Okay? There's a master plan.
The thing that I really like too is that we're always looking for some way, as you said, the fundamentals and being able to set a programmer up for success, no matter what platform they're learning. And Jeff so well stated in the last episode that you can learn a lot from these trainings and apply them to other platforms as well. There's nothing saying that you can't, and I think that's key to this because there isn't another resource in our industry. Avixa doesn't have one, Cedia doesn't have one. You have to go out and learn on your own, and none of them are really geared toward an AV programmer because there's so many different things that go into the success of an AV programmer. Um,
I'm doing my part. I
I
mean, I've chose a side, but I'm doing my part.
and that's what's so cool about this because the everybody should think about attending Jeff's classes and going through this training, whether or not you are currently working with Q-SYS. You may decide that you want to in the future. You may decide that you can't for one reason or another, but you're still learning very important skills, and the path that he's taking you on is successful and can be applied in different manners. That those are my thoughts. If we want to jump ahead a little bit, and just touch on before we wrap up the plugins and so forth. Talk a little bit about the challenges that go into that, because there is so much opportunity there, and I think that they're incredibly valuable. And I certainly would encourage everybody to understand how to write plugins, but they're a little bit of a different beast.
Mhm. They are a little bit of a different beast. Um, to quickly try to give you an answer to that question, part of what this is a technical thing, right? So, part of from a technical perspective, what makes writing a plugin different than writing a normal script in Q-SYS is that Q-SYS Designer has made an intentional choice to be a single piece of software that has all of the different things under the one hood. That is what I like to describe as a trade-off, right? Other manufacturers have taken the perspective of we're going to make a program that just does this, and a program, right, just does the control programming, and a program that just lets us make user interfaces, and just be where we do the DSP audio control, et cetera, right? Q-SYS takes the idea of nope, this is one big giant, um, what's the right word here? It's a full stack development environment for a full stack AV program, right?
Your
Where
marketing's coming out.
I know where the butter comes from, um, but it's but it's genuine as well, right? It's one software for the full stack of things that you need to do, and it's a trade-off. It's a thing. And so part of what it is though is that you get right in whole files that are right. It's everything. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just it was a philosophical decision to organize the software that way. Fine. Okay. Part of what a plugin gives you, though, is that you can write the plugin in a way. Here's the secret sauce. The secret sauce is everything in a plugin is text. Because it's text, you can put it in modern version control. You can use common development sort of environments of VS Code using Git or whatever to have version control of everything because it's all text. The trade-off, though, is that it's all text. So where do you want a button? You got to tell it in text. How big is that button? You got to tell it in text. How many buttons do you have? You got to tell it in text. It's all in text. And so it's the trade-off. It's the trade-off. You get modern development environments with modern version control kind of tools, but you also sign up for the well, you've got to textually describe what kind of control is it, how many are there, where do they go, how big are they, what are they called, right? All things that the normal Q-SYS programmer says, oh yeah, text controller. I just say I want 5 toggle buttons. They're going to be called this. Boom, there it is. And I just grab them little suckers and I pull them out and I put them on the page exactly where I want them. Easy peasy. It is, but it's unwieldy from the standpoint of version control, from a modern perspective. Does that kind of make sense?
Yes.
So
And
it's a
and we
trade-off.
recently had Mike Krejci on talking a little bit about this, and to tie back to some recent episodes as well, where he talked about version control and Git and all those things.
Yep. So it's right. So to be ready to do that kind of stuff, there's a bunch of right. This end of the spectrum is going to help you write the code that does stuff, but we have to have this conversation about how to right do version control, how to use Git, how to develop in VS Code, how to um, right do all of that labor of textually describing all those things that I described a minute ago, right? So it's trade-offs. So that's really the story of all things in Q-SYS. We try to make everything easy for wherever you are. But it's a it's a this is the story in all of AV programming. There are trade-offs. It's really easy to wire things together. It's really easy, for example, the concluding exercise in the Control and UCI training series is making press and hold PTZ camera preset recalls. Something we've all done forever, and they're ubiquitous and they're needed, and you're never going to get away from it. I take that back. You are going to get away from it, but it's a common thing. And I'll come back to that in a second. But it's a very like, oh yeah, I get that. That's a thing I might need to do. Um, and right, we can do it with control components, right? Just wiring some things together, have some snapshots, etc. And it's all well and good until you want that additional preset button. What you got to do? You got to bring this out. You got to wire this in. Oh, what if you want to bring in another camera? Okay, then that's fine. I just got to bring this out. I got to wire this in, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's more wires, and you got to do it. But you can do it. Um, when we get to the text controller version, right, the full scripting, it's it's the actual code, because we write everything inside of a for loop and we use arrays of controls, because we've been on that journey James talked about of you could just write button do thing, button do thing, button do thing, but we bring you along to where you're ready to write scalable code, agnostic code, configurable code, so that you can write it once and deploy it again and again and again and again, right? That that ending script is like 25 lines of code, and some of that's because we put in comments. And so to see that you can, right, if you take the entire journey of like, here's this mess of wires that I made that does it, it's so cool to I have this much code, and I can have however many of them I want, and I don't have to write any more code because I was really clever about the way I did it, is a fantastic journey to go on. Um, I'm sorry, I lost my thread.
No, I think that you did great, and I think that that's a great explanation. We're going to wrap this one up, but let's continue this conversation very soon. Especially, I think you probably have more episodes than in you that you can offer to us. So we certainly want to have you back, and
And
go.
you wind me up and you point me in a direction.
It's it is incredibly valuable to us, to our audience, and I'm sure that it's going to be something that you're going to get some feedback on, and we're going to be posting this episode on communities as well. So all great stuff. But thank you, Jeff, for the last two episodes. Thank you for being part of this, and sharing all of your insight with the Ask the Programmer community. How can people get in touch with you, learn more about what you do at Q-SYS, and just learn, get more of your
Yep,
wisdom?
for sure. In the last episode, I told you if you want training, go to training.qsys.com. That's our LMS. That's where you can sign up for any of these classes. You also can find all of the other classes that we have available. Take them. They're good. They're We try to be funny. Uh, if anything, you can put mine on when you're having a hard time going to sleep. You put it on double speed, and then because I talk slow, then I'll talk normal speed, and it'll just put you straight to sleep. It's so good, right? Double duty here. Okay. But also, you can find me and content from me at developers.qsc.com. There are mentions there of the Control and UCI training series with links back to the LMS. And I didn't mention it earlier, but I also have sort of a continuing education series called Q-SYS Control Quick Starts. And it is me, it is Goofy Guy in the bow tie, that is talking to you about all these kinds of things. And there's obviously there's links to it on the LMS. There's plenty of discussion about it, and a landing page for it on communities. The reality is that it's also on YouTube. And so if you look on YouTube for Q-SYS control quick starts, you'll find the guy in the bow tie. And there are season one is currently out. I have plans for season two, but I'm writing that plugin class at the moment. So I'll do one, then I'll do the other, and we'll see how it goes.
So if you didn't hear, that's Jeff Perkins from Q-SYS, and you can find him on LinkedIn as well. You could find him in so many places, but connect with him and be sure that you follow what he's doing because you're going to get a lot of reward from it.
Yep. Jeff.Perkins@QSC.com.
Wonderful. And James, any final thoughts, anything that you wanted to share? We have so much great content that I know that our audience will be able to benefit from it as well as soak up probably more than once.
Oh, no, I got nothing else to add. I think Jeff covered it all. Again, if you're trying to get a hold of me, find me on the Ask the Programmer community on LinkedIn. Google me, you'll find me.
And for me, you could find me on social media at Steve Greenblatt. My company, Control Concepts, is a supporter of this podcast. And as Jeff mentioned, we write plugins and specifically help interface with devices and make those available in Asset Manager and Q-SYS, and we also work on other platforms as well. But what those things do is they help programmers get their projects done quicker, more efficiently, and more with more confidence in working with products that you may not be familiar with. So check those out. We really enjoy this dialogue. We enjoy having guests on the show. So please reach out. Please share your thoughts, ask your questions. Let us know if you want to be part of the conversation. We really want to continue to make this content geared toward our audience, similar to the way Jeff approaches his training. So let us know how we can do that, and let us know that we are on target for you. If you haven't already heard, we have a video version on YouTube, an audio version in your favorite podcast player. Both great ways to consume the content and interact with us, leave a rating or review, and so forth. So thank you for being part of this and watching, listening, whatever you choose. Until next time, this has been Ask the Programmer.